2015 Jeep Patriot, folks, mud bog edition. It's a crank no start, got towed in. It's frozen and cold. Battery's a little weak, so we're gonna throw a charger on it and crank it over and see if we're missing spark or fuel or what the case is, and take it from there. But the story the guy told me, he parked it in his driveway, went out to start it. That was it. Here we are. Step one, duplicate customer concern. Just go ahead and crank it, McCoy, see what it sounds like. All right, that's good. So that's what it sounds like. Yeehaw. So even though we just cranked it that little bit, observation is it sounds normal. It doesn't sound like, you know, broken timing chain or anything. Car's got almost 250,000 miles on it, and it doesn't smell gassy. Even cranking a car that little bit, if it has no spark, usually in a small shop like this, you'll catch a whiff of gas. I didn't catch any whiffs. And I got a big nose in case you haven't noticed. Before we even pull the cover to see if it has spark or anything, McCoy's gonna throw the computer on it. And we're gonna make sure, A, we have communication with the computer, and C, if there's any code stored in it, you know, crank sensor, missing code or something of that sort. And then we'll take our diagnosis from there. If there's no codes, then we'll proceed as normal. So we're just doing a full system scan here. All right, so the ECM's talking, so that's good. It's got a couple codes in it. So we'll go to the report here. Catalyst efficiency has nothing to do with it, but this does. ASD main sense circuit. So this is Chrysler's use the ASD relay, auto shutdown relay. It's pretty much what powers everything in the car. These things do have problems rotting out the fuse box that's in the driver's side inner fender, but I think that only houses the fan relays and the fuel pump relay. I could be wrong, but 688, we're gonna look that up and see where the relay lives, see what it takes to turn it on, and kind of go from there. I think they're ECM controlled, if I remember correctly. So I'm gonna look this up. We'll get us some direction here, but this will definitely make the car not run. But this little relay block here, I believe houses, yeah, so yeah, see it has the fan relay. So we fix a lot of these fan relays and stuff. I thought it had the fuel pump relay, but I guess perhaps it's just the, yeah, radiator fans, brake light, and ASD. So maybe I'm thinking ASD relay was the fuel pump relay. I thought that lived in there, but I should know better on Chrysler to think that it has an external fuel pump relay, but that's where it lives. So experience is gonna lead us right to that little guy. McCoy's gonna take and put it up on the lift for us. That fuse box lives like right in here, and they're usually a hot mess. Sometimes you can see them. Let me grab a flashlight. Sometimes you can see them from up here. Yep, there it is. So there's the lid. Doesn't look like anybody's touched it, but you can see, well, you probably can't because it's not going to focus, but that little square box down there, that's the lid. Real piss poor engineering. These things usually rot right out. I guess before we can lift it up, I'll reach down here. I usually do these through the fender. I'll take and pop the lid off it. We'll see if it's all crusty. I did find a picture of it. So we got the two latches there. It shows that middle one as being the main relay, radiator fog lamp, stoplight. So it's going to be that middle one across from there. Should be that little guy right there. I'm going to take and just pull that out. I want to see if it's all rotted off the bottom. Look at that, folks. She's clean. All right, maybe our diagnosis is gonna take a different direction here. I'm gonna get a mirror, just kind of shine it down there. I wanna see if I can see the bottom of the box. It's pretty exposed, but on the top side, it actually looks pretty good. So those pins look really good. That's kind of bizarre. So I've got us everything I think we need, folks. What I'm gonna try to do, I'm gonna try to pull a picture of this relay here up on the screen for you so you can follow along so we can see the pin numbers on it. 85, 86, 87, and 30. I found the right adapter. We're gonna use our AES Wave U Activate. I've got us a test light. My first observation, when I plug this in, that LED on there is super dim. Which is kind of bizarre, but this is going to allow us to check all the pins on the relay with the relay out. So I've got the relay out in our hand here. First thing we're going to do that we want to do is we need to make sure on a relay that we have power on the control side, we have power on the load side. So if you look at the diagram, pin 85 and pin 30, you follow those back, and they come out to those red wires on the bottom. So these little guys, you know, down here, the A15 and A11, we follow all those back, and they come from the fuse box. You can follow them over. One comes from fuse 18, another one comes from fuse 33, and both of those are supposed to be hot at all times. So 30 and 85. We have a test light hooked to ground. Doesn't matter if the key's on or not. We will check pin 30. Okay, we have power there. And then we will check pin 85. And we check pin 85 and we have no power there, right? It's supposed to be 85. Let me just double check on the factory diagram. That sounds right. So pin 85 has no power on it. Does not light our test light. However, pin 30 does. Okay, so that's a problem. Let's just check the rest of the circuit. Output wise, pin 86 is what's supposed to turn on the relay. So pin 86, that comes down to that brown with white. And if we were to follow that back, that would go to the ECM. So 86 should go to ground. I might be thinking wrong here. Shut the key off, McCoy, or is it off? Okay, turn it back on. Okay, yeah, I'm thinking of that wrong right now here. Let me just see. Yeah, 85 has no power. 30 does. The control comes from the PCM. I'd have to follow that diagram back to verify. I don't have it. Oh yeah, I guess we have it right here. Yeah, ASD main relay control. So that's curious. The PCM didn't send the ground signal. I would have to look into that a little more, but let's just, for example, when this relay's turned on, 85 is hot, 86 gets the signal to turn the relay on. Number 30 is hot, which we know, and that turns on number 87. So with this, if we flick this up, oh, I just heard everything click here. Pin 87 should be hot, and it is, so we can turn that relay on and off. Try to start it, McCoy. All right, so it starts and runs until we do that. Okay, so that's interesting. First thing first, because we are supposed to have power on pin 85 according to the diagram, that comes from fuse number 33 out of the TIPM, from what I'm seeing. Let's check this diagram too. Follow that down and around. This says fuse 18. So we do have, or no, I'm sorry, we follow that down and around, it goes over, yes, fuse 33 is this 10 amp. And that is supposed to feed through the TIPM, comes over here, down and around and around and around and up to the other side of that relay. So let's check fuse number 33. We're gonna see if that has power on it. We'll kind of move this out of our way, because if we have power there, and not anywhere else. The other thing we could do is we could jumper power to number 85 here and see if the PCM has control and the ability to turn this thing on. So I guess we could do that first and foremost. That's easy enough to do. We'll jumper power to here and see if it starts. Scrap that idea. I forgot that doesn't work like that because we don't have a relay in the circuit to turn on. This is the relay. This is what we're turning on and off. So never mind. Forget I even said that. I'm not thinking here. I forget. So let's go back to plan A. We're going to find number 33. 33 is right there. We'll see how this is laid out. So that's that 10 amper right there. All right. All right, we're going to just test with a test light first real quick. Then we'll yank it out. First thing first, make sure that works. Is the key on, McCoy? Well, it doesn't matter. That's hot at all times, so. That thing feels kind of wiggly in there. Let me see them pliers, McCoy. Yank that little guy out. Seems good. I just heard a bunch of dinging because that feeds other things. So we have power here, but we don't have power here. Okay. Interesting. Hopefully these are terminated. Hopefully these are right. So that's kind of weird because look now, our LED's nice and bright. I am curious if these numbers are inverted based off our diagram. That's what I'm wondering. Just for the heck of it, McCoy, hop in there for me. I'm thinking that these might be inverted. Shut the key off. Turn it back on. So this is the control side of the PCM. I'm thinking, yes, these numbers are incorrect, or they're not incorrect. The diagram, there's some discrepancy here. Here's our full-time power, because if we pull this fuse, that light should go out. Yes, sir. I think we had a crappy connection on a fuse, because look, our LED is lit up nice and bright now, and we have power on 86. So 85 and 86 on a relay can be inverted, and it must be different how it's laid out here. So that's that. Yeah, 85 and 86 are different. According to our diagram, 85 is supposed to have the power, and it doesn't. 86 does. So that's kind of weird. Did we have cruddy connection on the fuse? You guys remember when we first had this thing hooked up, that LED was dim. Just trying to fiddle with this to see if that's the case, or what the heck the deal is here. Obviously it has the ability to carry current because it lights our test light, and this is the control side, so this is only needs, 100 milliamps or so. So that's kind of bizarre. I'm glad we made some observations before fiddling with that fuse to see that was dim. Theoretically, if we put the relay in it, it should start and run on its own now, because we have everything necessary to make it run. Find out what I did with the relay. I stuck it in my pocket. So if we stick this in, it should start and run. Yes, sir. I just heard it click. Go ahead and start it, McCoy. All right, shut it off. So it starts and runs on its own now. That's handy. Not really. This box doesn't look real bad up here. The fuse isn't super corroded. I don't see a split in it, or any kind of corrosion up in it like we had the other day with that Chevy. But we do know, prior to fiddling with this fuse, that LED was dim. I'm gonna have to look back through my footage, I think, when I start putting this video together, to make sure that it was dim up until the point that we yanked this out. I'm assuming it was. Go ahead and start it, McCoy. Yeah. All right, shut off. I guess we have to leave it at that, folks. I think I'm gonna change the fuse as a precautionary in case I'm not seeing something here. But clearly the power was not making it to pin 85 or 86, however you want to look at it, for the control side of that relay. Or the power that was getting there was just enough to barely light an LED. We didn't check voltage on it. We just checked, test light. We'd stick our test light in there, the light would go out. We'd pull the fuse out, put it back in. Now it's nice and bright. I suppose, just in case we accidentally wiggled something here on the bottom of this tip-em, we can have a look. Now, coming out of this tip-em, it doesn't go through any sort of logic. It's just the fuse, power into that fuse and then out to there. So we're not looking for anything kind of weird there. I just want to see on the bottom of this box to see if there's any green crap coming out of it. I'm gonna move you guys. I'm gonna look under here a little bit with a mirror and stuff, see if there's anything obvious that's jumping out. Oh, I do see some green corrosion laying on top of this harness. Okay. So when I pulled that box up, I don't know if you guys can see the infamous green powder sitting on top of that harness. That means it's probably coming from one of these connectors, as a general rule. This would be the connector sitting right over it. Would you mind holding that mirror right there, McCoy? Just about like that. Let me get this over here. Enhance. Oh, that doesn't work that well. See that red with white wire? Red, yeah. Let's start over again. Red wire with a white stripe. I don't know if it's really focusing here, but I see some green pus at the top of that little guy. I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but definitely some corrosion, and it looks like just that single pin. What we need to do before we open up the box here is to find out, is this connector the one that sends the power feed from that fuse, whichever fuse it was that we were yanking, to make sure that's even plausible, because we can clearly see, or at least I can, that there is a single wire in there that has a lot of corrosion on it. So let's see if that's even our wire. According to the diagram, it was, I think it was red with a white stripe. No, it's not, it's just straight red. So that's probably not even our wire, because we got red with yellow. What kind of OEM diagram is on the safe side? Yeah, red and red with yellow. Let me do some poking here, folks, figure out what's what. All right, so that connector up here that has the green pin in it, this one has a green pin in it, but neither one of them have to do with the control side wire here. Our connector is in connector C2, it said, pin 11, which is, oh, we're gonna need another one of those. I can see it down there, McCoy. If you bring a magnet too, you should be able to fish it out. It sits on top of the transmission there. We're gonna get this lock undone here, because we want to pull up this connector if we can, and just unplug it and have a look, at least find our circuit that was giving us a fit, see if there's any green crusties here. Indeed, did we have just a problem at the fuse? If I can figure out how to get that freaking latch to release. Come on, baby! I gotta move you guys. I gotta get over here. This can be a bad idea when you're messing with Tiplums. This is just like pulling up a GM fuse box. Really get you in trouble. So we want to flip this over. We just want to have a look at the bottom. See if it's green or anything. It's supposed to be pin number 11, which you guys probably can't see much. Should be this little guy down in here, second row. Pin number 11 in this case is red with a violet stripe, and it is clean. We verified the other pins on the other side of it, make sure those wire colors match up. But it is nice and clean. I don't see any issues there. The power that feeds this, so because that's always the other concern too, is well, what feeds this fuse? Well, it's the same power source feeding this that fed the load side of the relay, which we know was good because we could click it on. I'm going to follow this backwards a little bit because I want to be sure of that before I proclaim that statement to be true, because it appears here that our output wire is clean. I mean, it's super clean. There's not even a spot of green on it, even though we see some green on some other connectors here. I'm going to plug this back in. I'm going to look at a diagram, see where the main power feed comes from for that fuse, verify it's neither one of those two that's green and crusty already, and kind of take our diagnosis from there. It's just really weird that we would have had that much voltage loss on that fuse that's not green and corroded. So this is going to bring up the question as to what do you do about the other stuff that's under there that's crusty. I'll tell you what you do. You don't touch it until it becomes a problem. You're gonna make the customer aware and say, hey, we noticed some wires that are getting crusty under there. You start fiddling with these connectors and knock out this whole guy's car, you're gonna have problems. You're gonna have a pissed off customer. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I've dealt with the general public long enough to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. I'm gonna stick in a different fuse and we're gonna put the lid back on everything. I will make them aware that I saw corrosion down there, don't get me wrong, but like I say, you gotta know, a man's gotta know its limits. Isn't that Clint Eastwood? Who said that, McCoy? I don't know. I didn't even know who McCoy was or Bones was until we looked it up because everybody was leaving comments. But now we know, right, McCoy? We have to call you Bones, I guess. We're gonna put the lid back on this little guy. Make sure that's clicked on, that's clicked on. McCoy's gonna make sure the car still runs, because that'll be great. And then we're gonna wash our hands of it, as they say. Yeehaw! All right, that's it, folks. Hope you all understand. We're gonna leave it at that, folks. I hope the video fits together good. And hopefully we caught the process of what was going on there. I guess just as a brief recap, we were missing power on the control side of the relay. Had it on the low side, didn't have it on the control side, you know, when we were checking it with a test light there. Kind of bizarre. I wish I would have done, whoa, got dark real quick. I wish I would have done some other, you know, some other checks prior to, you know, fiddling with that fuse or touching that, but we didn't. So it is what it is. And I know some of you might disagree with the fact that, you know, yeah, we saw some green crusties dumping out of the bottom of that tip 'em. But I tell you, I've been doing this long enough. Don't frig with that stuff. You know, make your customer aware and say, here's what we see. You know, we see some crusty pins. It doesn't seem to be affecting anything now. Didn't have anything to do with, you know, your no-start situation. It could be a problem in the future. But you get in there and you start pedaling stuff and you unplug it, and now all of a sudden, you know, we've got a ton of crap that doesn't work, that did work, and they want to know why it doesn't work, and it's because you were in there messing with it. It can be a sticky situation dealing with Joe Public. So I tend to just leave that stuff alone, inform them, let them decide. If they say, hey, I want to be proactive and go after it, if they say, nah, we'll just call you when something quits, perfect. That's the best way to handle that. And so we're going to take it for a rip, make sure everything's cool, trust our data, and ship it down the road. So you guys ship down in the comment section. Questions, comments, the Insta, the Facebook, you know where to find us. And just remember, viewers, if we can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.